Okay, so kita sambung semula, we continue on the topic of capacitive transducer and then inductive transducer. So I think I'm going to stop our lecture here until inductive transducer. I'm going to do for temperature separately next week, because I think we need to have some specific focus on the temperature transducer. Okay, now capacitive transducer. Just now we covered resistive transducer with one example is using a strain gauge and the other is the resistive position transducer. Now let's look at the capacitive element. How do you use capacitive elements to measure distance or other parameters? Okay, so capacitor is a device that has two conductor plates separated by an insulator. And the equation you need to know and memorize is this equation here, which is capacitor C is equal to epsilon A divided by D. Okay, so epsilon is in this case is called permittivity. Okay, kita kena bezakan yang nilai ini dengan nilai strain tadi. If you look at the symbol strain, the symbol also uses epsilon. Okay, but in this application, epsilon means something totally different, which is the ratio of the length change. Here in electrical, epsilon is used for what we call as permittivity. Okay, permittivity is basically an electrical property of the material. How good is it able to contain the amount of charge? Okay, in terms of application, we just need to know how to calculate the value. Okay, epsilon is actually comprises two separate parts, epsilon naught and epsilon r. So epsilon r is relative permittivity and epsilon naught is constant permittivity or permittivity of free space. So epsilon r is going to depend on the type of dielectric. Okay, for example, just to show you an example, let me try to Google what is the permittivity table. Okay, let's see this table here. Okay, this is just example table I get from internet for different type of material. So you can see, for example, vacuum, the epsilon r is 1. Okay, and then air, udara, so the relative permittivity is 1.0005. Usually we also take this as 1 because it's too small. Okay, and then as we go further down the table, we see that the epsilon r increases. Kalau you pergi sampai yang paling bawah tu, barium titanate tu, you see that the relative permittivity can reach up to 1200. Okay, ni jarang kita jumpa lah. Okay, kalau you tengok dekat item ketiga daripada bawah, water dia punya relative permittivity dia adalah 81. Okay, so water dekat sini sebenarnya dia berubah-ubah, tengok jenis air juga. Kalau air masin biasanya dia punya permittivity lebih tinggi sedikit berbanding dengan air tawar. Tapi range dia macam around 70 to 80. Okay, apa significance dia? Sekejap lagi kita try tengok melalui calculation. Tapi ini yang saya nak maksudkan apabila kita ada epsilon r yang berbeza. Okay, going back to the slide. So epsilon r ni kita kena masukkan berdasarkan apa bahan yang kita gunalah. So kalau misalnya dalam soalan dia beritahu guna bahan jenis ni, tak dinyatakan berapa epsilon r dia, maka you kena refer pada table yang diberi. Okay, so A is the area of the plate. Okay, kalau square plate simple lah, you just multiply je dia punya length. Dan D is the separation distance between the two plates. Alright. Kalau kita ada kes di mana satu plate tu lebih besar daripada plate yang satu lagi, jadi kita akan kira yang overlapping sahaja. So itu yang kita ada dekat sini istilah overlapping area of the plate. So let's say we have one plate is 10 by 10 and the other plate is 5 by 5. So if you want to calculate the capacitance, you need to take the area of the smaller plate because that is the overlapping area of the plate. Okay? Ini mungkin saya kena buat notes kot depan ni. Kita kena buat satu contoh. Takut terlepas pandang benda ni. But anyway, so please take note the red point here, overlapping. That's an important point. So capacitive transducer, we can use it to measure a non-electrical quantity based on the change of an electrical quantity. So many application we can use. Apart from displacement, we can also use capacitive transducer principle to measure force, pressure, flow, torque, and so on. So we want to convert the change in capacitance value into voltage and current equivalent. Again, using the bridge circuit. Okay, so from this equation here, because the capacitance value can change based on these three parameters, either epsilon, A, or D. So any change in one of the variables will cause a change in the capacitance. So there are different types of construction. So the most common one we can see is parallel plate. Parallel plate, that means the plate are in parallel to one another. Okay, and then the change or the distance D between the two plates will determine the amount of capacitance. Kalau kita ubah jarak antara kedua plate ni, kita akan ubah nilai capacitance. And then we can determine the amount of displacement accordingly. That's one of the way. Okay, we can also change by the overlapping area. So you see here we have two plates and we have a dielectric in the middle. Now when we move the dielectric outwards, so there will be a change in the amount of overlapping area. So there will be a gap here. On the left hand side, you have a gap. So now the overlapping area is only this part. So the capacitance value will change. And we can calculate according to this overlapping area. Okay, another method is the capacitive transducer, pressure transducer. Okay, so we have this pressure transducer. We can use it to measure, for example, a pressure in a room or in a chamber. Okay, these are simple examples. So capacitive transducer, it is favorable because it's simple to construct, it's quite cheap, and it's effective for high flow variations of liquid and gas. Okay, and these are the disadvantages as well. So they have metallic parts that require insulation, and the frame of the capacitor requires earthing to reduce effect of the stray magnetic field. Okay, maksud dia dekat sini capacitor ni apabila kita sambungkan kepada, apabila dua plate ni kita sambungkan kepada satu supply, dia akan mengumpul charge pada kedua-dua plate ni. So apabila dia mengumpul charge, kita mesti ada capability untuk discharge. Kalau tak, nanti dia boleh menyebabkan short circuit dan sebagainya. That's one of the reason lah. Okay, let's look at the example. A parallel plate capacitive transducer uses a plate with an area of 300 mm squared, separated by a distance of 0.2 mm. Okay, the plates are separated by air, udara. Jadi dia punya epsilon R dia equals to 1. So first determine the value of capacitance. And then determine the change in capacitance if a linear displacement reduces the distance between the plates to 0.18. That means original, the space D is 0.2, it's changed to 0.18. And then we also need to find the ratio per unit change of capacitance. So let's look at the solution. So you need to know this equation first, and we replace the value. Okay, so A is 300 millimeter, not cube here, millimeter squared. So you need to convert all the units into meter to avoid any mistake. Okay, so here the unit is millimeter, also millimeter. Actually, you can calculate directly, but for safety, we convert it into meter. So 300 millimeter squared, this is equivalent to 300 times 10 to the power of minus 6 meter squared. And then 0.2 millimeter is equal to 0.2 times 10 to the power of minus 3 meter. Epsilon r equals to 1. Epsilon naught is equal to this value, 8.854 times 10 to the power of minus 12. So we replace the equation in the equation to find the value of the capacitance to be 13.275 picofarad. So pico is 10 to the power of minus 12. Okay. Hold on. Right. Okay, now we want to find the capacitance if the distance is reduced to 0.18. So now we just replace the D value in the equation. So we get 14.75. The rest is the same. Right, so the original one is 13.275. Now when you reduce the distance, because the distance here becomes shorter, so the capacitance become larger. So we get 14.75. To determine the ratio, we simply first calculate what is the change in capacitance. So we subtract the value to get 1.475. The unit is picofarad. And for the displacement, we subtract the value of the distance change to get 0.02 millimeter. And then we determine the ratio per unit change using this equation here to get the answer as 1.11. And the final answer has no dimension because this one picofarad and picofarad, it cancel out. This one millimeter divided by millimeter also cancel out. So this is dimensionless. We just want to find the ratio of capacitance to the distance change. Yeah, so this is the ratio 1.11. Okay, so this is a practice problem. So practice problem, this one is for the second principle where we change the amount of overlapping area. So this one you can try on your own, and then if you are stuck or you have any problems, you need to let me know. So ini contoh dia, katakan first you ada satu capacitor, ada dua plate, lepas tu you ada satu dielectric material. So mula-mula dielectric material ni dia berada pada selari betul-betul dengan plate ni. And then after that, this dielectric material is taken out to the left hand side. So you have a displacement from 0 to 2 centimeter. So what will be the change in the capacitance value when the overlapping area changes? So please try on your own. So dekat sini ada sedikit typo, iaitu dekat bahagian ini. If the dielectric constant for air is 1.0, not centimeter, only 1.0, there's no unit. So you need to slash this. Or, I don't know, hold on, what can I do? Maybe I draw a box. And I cut it. No. Yeah, just potong je lah cm ni. There's a typo there. So you calculate for overlapping area. Alright. So that one is for capacitive. Now we move on to inductive. So saya laju sikit lah. So inductive capacitance, inductor, prinsip dia apabila kita ada coil. Bila kita ada coil aja kita akan menghasilkan inductor. So kita gunakan prinsip inductor untuk measure some parameters as well. Apabila ada arus mengalir dalam coil ni, dia akan menghasilkan medan magnet. Jadi medan magnet ni kita boleh detect, dan perubahan medan magnet ni kita boleh gunakan sebagai asas as a basis to measure other types of parameter. Okay, the magnetic core will determine the strength of the magnetic field and also how the magnetic field are related to each other, how strong the magnetic field is, depending on the type of coil. Okay, so these are examples of winding that can produce different levels of inductance. So usually the winding is very close to each other. There's no space like this one. Okay, in practical application, so you see this one. It's basically there's no gap in between the loops. So it can either be without an iron core or with an iron core. So if you have an iron core, then your magnetic flux will become much stronger because the iron core itself is a material that increases magnetic field. If you have just air, then the magnetic field will be a bit weaker. Okay, this is another example where we wrap the iron core around a closed loop in this configuration. So we have an iron core here. So the iron core also increases or improves the magnetic field generation. Okay, so this is the equation for inductance. So for capacitance, we have epsilon naught and epsilon r. So for inductance, we have mu naught and mu r. So mu naught is given as this constant value here, 1.26 times 10 to the power of -6. And then for mu r, again, it will depend on the material, whether it has magnetic properties or not. Okay, so n is the number of turns. A is the area, cross-section area of the coil, and L is the length of coil in meters. So these parameters or these variables are used to determine the inductor value, L. So any of this change, then the inductor value will change. So an inductive transducer, similar to capacitive transducer, it detects a change in inductance value and it can use to convert or to measure other types of quantities. Okay, the change can be either the change in inductance value itself or the change in the voltage, because it can also generate voltage. So we can vary the inductance. Looking at the equation just now, we can vary by varying the number of turns, by varying the length, or by varying or using different type of cores. Okay. So yang paling mudah adalah you tambah bilangan lilitan atau you kurangkan bilangan lilitan. You look at the equation here, and here it is squared now. So for example, if you want to significantly increase your inductance value, you simply add one loop and it becomes much bigger. So this is the most dominant in this equation. The number of turn is the most dominant parameter that can be used to modify your inductance level. Alright, and then it can be used in this type of application to measure linear displacement, to measure angular displacement, angles, okay, and then also measure movement. Linear displacement in terms of movement. So this is basically these two are the same. Inductive transducer can be categorized into two types. We have active inductive transducer or passive inductive transducer. So active one, we'll see the difference in the next slide. So these are examples of the active and passive types. So active types, it self-generates. Okay, so the relative motion between the conductor and magnetic field will result a change in voltage generated. So it does not need a power supply, but it requires a permanent magnet, a core at the center. So this is example using tachometer. You usually measure this for rotation. Okay, speed, rotational speed, you use tachometer. And then we have passive. So passive, we detect change in the inductance of the coil. For passive, we need an external source to energize the coil. So examples are variable reluctance and linear variable differential transducer, LVDT. Okay, so we have these examples here, either using electromagnetic type. Okay, so you can have a read. I think I'm going to skip this part. Okay, so this is usually the practical application of using a tachometer when we want to measure the speed of a moving car. Okay, then let's look at the passive element. Okay, here there are a few examples. Number one is variable reluctance. So we have an air gap type. So when we have an air gap type, so basically what this means is we have a coil and a voltage supply wrapped around a core ferromagnetic material here, and then we have a target here. So the target is going to move either up or down, and we want to detect when it moves up or down, then the air gap between these 2 points here is going to increase or decrease accordingly. Okay, since we know that the self-inductance of the coil is inversely proportional to the length of the air gap, that means that if the air gap increase, the inductance decrease. So we are going to apply this principle in variable reluctance transducer. Okay, so this is the equation that you use. L equals to N squared divided by Ri plus Rg, where Ri is the reluctance of the iron gap and Rg is reluctance of the air gap. Okay, so reluctance is measured using this equation here for Rg. Okay, it's going to be depending on Lg, mu R, mu naught, and Ag. So Lg is the length of the air gap. Mu naught is this value here. Ag is the area of the flux path through an air gap, and mu R is the relative permittivity. Okay, so I'm going to share an example of how to solve this maybe in our next class. Or maybe in the tutorial session. And then we have another one, which is LVDT, linear variable differential transformer. Linear variable differential transducer. So basically we have a core for LVDT and we have two coils, one primary, one secondary. We basically want to detect the movement of the core, either forward or backward. And we want to note the direction of the movement. Okay, so we have two coils, one at the front and one at the back. And we're going to find the movement of the core based on the difference between the inductance value of the two coils. Right? So the core can be moved. We can push it either forward or backwards. If we push it forward, then what is going to happen? The core will disturb the second coil here, and it will produce a magnetic flux. And if the core goes back, it's going to pass through the coil 1 here, and it's going to generate magnetic flux for coil 1. So whenever it does not pass through any one of the two, then the source and the output voltage is going to be balanced. So you see here there is a connection between primary or between the first coil and the second coil, the positive and the negative. So whenever the coil passes through, for example, this one, the magnetic field here will change. So the output voltage will be shown here. Okay, similarly, when the core passes to secondary 2, we also see some changes here. So basically it detects the movement based on the movement of the core, how it changes the magnetic flux that is generated in the inductor. So that's the basic principle of LVDT. Okay, so this is the initial condition where the core is at the center. So the output voltage is 0. Okay, at position 1, when the core is at the center, E1 and E2. So the voltage for E1 and the voltage for E2 is going to be similar, the same. So the voltage, the output voltage is going to be 0. All right, now if we move the core towards secondary 2, we are going to have a difference in voltage. We have E1 here and E2 here. So the difference voltage is going to be shown. So we are going to have the difference between E2 and E1 as the value of E0. In this case, we have, for example, 0.75. This is just a value. Okay, depending, because now the core is starting to move towards the right hand side. Now, if the core moves to the left hand side, meaning it goes back, now the output voltage becomes negative. That means it shows that the core is moving in the opposite direction. So when we have positive value in this case, that means the core is moving to the front. When we have negative value, the core is moving to the back. The larger the value, that means the larger the movement of the core. And we can calculate using this principle. So this is the working principle. So this is the center condition. When the core is exactly at the center, then there will be no voltage difference between the two coils, and coil 1 and coil 2. When we move it maximum to the right, okay, we are going to get E2 minus E1. When we move it maximum to the left, we are going to get E1 minus E2. And then this is the linear relationship, which is this equation here. So let's move to the example. This is LVDT data. We have the E value as 6.3 volts, the input voltage, and then the output voltage is plus minus 5.2 volts, and displacement range is plus minus 0.5 inch. So calculate the displacement when we know is 2.6 volts. So we just apply the equation using the principle of ratio to find that when the value is 2.6 volts, the movement is actually 0.25 inch. All right. And then another example, we have an AC LVDT, the following parameters. Input is 6.3 volts, output is 5.2 volts, range is plus minus 0.5 inch. So we want to determine the displacement versus output voltage curve for a core movement going from positive 0.45 to negative 0.3 inch. So we just replace the value 0.45 and negative 0.3 in the equation to get a range of negative 3.12 volts to 4.68 volts. So this is the type of curve that you are going to get. This is the range for the distance between negative 0.3 to 0.45. This is the voltage range. Okay, so this is how you convert the value into graph form. Right? And then you can calculate for D equals to negative 0.25 inch. You can either calculate, or if you plot it in your graph paper, you can also find what is the exact value from the graph paper. Okay, here are the advantages and disadvantages. Please read them. And here are examples in industry where they use inductive types of transducer. Okay, so 12:40. Let me move on to my last slide, which is piezoelectric. So this one is very short. So piezoelectric transducer. So what does piezo means? So piezo basically means to push or to press. So the idea is when we press something, the element will either generate voltage, trigger voltage generation when the shape of the object changes. Okay, so this is also a common principle in vibration. When we move, we create vibration, and that vibration, when we, for example, when we step on the floor, we are actually squeezing the floor. When we squeeze the floor, actually there's some piezo element there, and actually we can generate small amount of electricity based on our movement. Right. So piezoelectric effect is when we squeeze something and it produces a small voltage, small electric field, and we can possibly utilize it for some application. Okay, so we have reverse, also we have reverse piezoelectric effect. Okay. When a piezoelectric material is subjected to an electric field, it will squeeze themselves. The other way around, when we apply electric field to it, it will compress themselves and vibrate. Okay. So the principle, it uses the pressing effect. Piezoelectric is the pressing effect to measure changes in pressure, acceleration, temperature, strain, or force by converting to an electrical value. Okay, so piezo is very interesting because it does not need external power source. It can self-generate itself, but it cannot measure static condition. So you need to press it for it to be to measure something. If you don't press it, then it cannot measure anything. So these are the principle of piezoelectric. So these are examples of where piezoelectric concept or piezoelectric sensors are used. Okay, when they want to monitor combustion in engines, when they want to measure the tilt sensor, okay, or elements as listed here in the consumer electronics department. Okay, so many applications. Okay, and then in clocks and watches. Okay, so electrical energy causes crystal to oscillate, and the oscillations can turn tiny motor and small gears used to drive the clock. So the clock can self-generate itself, self-generate their own supply for some applications, even though still we need some batteries for the watch. Okay, and for ultrasound equipment, so we can use piezoelectric to convert AC electrical signal into mechanical vibration. And this one is quite common, spark lighters for gas stoves. So we squeeze piezoelectric crystal, generating a voltage and creating a spark across a small gap to light up your stove to cook. Okay, so that covers the topic on capacitive, resistive, capacitive and inductive transducer. So I'm going to stop our lecture here. In our class next week, I'm going to focus on the last part for the sensor, which is temperature sensor. We are going to cover RTD, thermistor, and thermocouple. Okay, any questions? Okay, so you akan ada satu lagi assignment nanti saya akan bagi berkenaan dengan topik ni. Okay, Chong, I will attach after this. That one is actually not from my lecture note, not from Dr. Khairul Anwar's lecture note. That one is from National Instrument. But I will attach it together after I finish this. Okay, ada yang tanya tentang tutorial. So for this topic, I have no specific tutorial questions. I'll try to prepare some questions, but my resource is quite limited. So maybe we are going to discuss some questions available, and maybe I'm also going to cover some past year questions related to this in the upcoming week. Right? Lain daripada tu, ada soalan lagi? The last final question you can get from library. Hold on, let me check for you. Sekejap ya. Let me see whether I can access it. Okay, Junan, I cannot find the link for now, but I'll share it in the WhatsApp group after I find it. I don't want you to wait for too long. I think I saved it, but I can't find it for now. Let's give me a few more minutes. Let me double check whether I need to log in. I can't access it now. Maybe my password is wrong, or I'm accessing the wrong link. I'll share with you afterwards the link for final exam. You can download it from library. I think we need to go through a proxy or something. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me double check. Yeah, okay. So maybe you know already. Yep. Okay, Aisyah dah ada dah. So tak apalah, saya buka jugalah. So di proxy. Ya, kat sinilah. Login. Lambat sikit. So you carilah dekat sini. Exam paper. Di proxy, and then you log in using your own account. Download the exam paper. Click at the exam paper, and then you find the necessary papers that you want. Ataupun Aisyah, saya rasa dia dah access dah. You can ask from her. Okay, for the past year, I'm not going to share my copy of the exam paper. You need to find on your own. Alright. Okay, thank you for your time. Sorry I couldn't make the class yesterday. I think we are still okay. So I believe I can finish the lecture by next week. And hopefully I can also update you on your marks by tomorrow. I'll keep you guys informed. Thank you for your time. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon.
Doktor,
Ya,
Aisyah punya paper midterm boleh tak?
boleh? Nanti.
Sebab
Bagi saya arrange sekali besok. Boleh?
okay, sebab Aisyah just nak tahu what should do for the final.
Not only you, dah ada beberapa orang yang PM saya directly juga nak minta tengok assignment semua kan. So, nak upload individual tu take time sikit lah. Saya tak pasti lagi macam mana kan. Tapi saya akan share lah.
Okay, terima kasih lah.
At least untuk test.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.